All right, y'all. I was about to film. I can't even speak. A haul video, but it has recently come to my attention that for some reason Black people are getting blamed for the hate that the Asian community is experiencing, and I'm just like, where the heck is this coming from? Like, I don't understand how or why Black people are always blamed for the oppression of other groups of people when we literally have been fighting for our own equality since the time we got to the States. So make that make sense. I don't understand why Black people get blamed for every single negative thing that happens. And I mean, I've seen videos of it from the Latin American community, from the Asian community. Like, what is happening? And I can't speak on, what other groups experience, but from what we learned in school, the main issues that the Asian American or that were taught about Asian Americans receiving hatred was when they were working on the railroads and when they were stuck in Japanese intermittent camps during the Vietnam War. So, and neither one of those was caused by Black people. So, while there might be individuals who are Black who have done things that were racist towards Asian Americans, that really does not represent the Black community is oppressing all of Asian American communities, because we know more than anyone what it feels like to be oppressed and judged because of our color of our skin or because of our race. So I don't understand why we're being blamed for this. And I'm always going to stand up for what's right and equality. Obviously, the hate towards the Asian community is not okay. The hate crimes, the fact that those are increasing towards Asians is not okay. But it's also not okay for people to turn around and use what's happening to continue the racism against blacks. Saying blacks is just also like has very racist undertone coming out of any person who is not an African American. But Black people is better than blacks because we're people, not just a color, okay? Anyways, yeah, that's just my little mini rant. I don't know where that's coming from or why we're getting brought into whatever is going on. Again, this is not to bash the Asian community at all. Again, we should all be supporting each other instead of pitting each other against one another. Why can't I speak? But I literally just watched this video and it's like a national news and they're talking about how Black people are doing this to the Asian community. I'm like, and then they showed examples of 2 white people being racist towards Asians. I'm like, I don't know about you, but I don't know any Black people who just have this hate towards Asians in their head. Like, there's a lot of racism from white people. They invented race in racism. But somehow Black people are getting blamed for this. And I just need that to stop. Like, again, it's normal for minorities to come here and they're going to take the side of the oppressor. So this is actually something I learned in my sociology class, that it's really, really common. I'm sorry, I got tired of the reflection of my glasses. It's really, really common, and this includes Africans. So people come here from other countries and they adopt the white man's narrative of Black people because that's what we are shown in the media, that Black people are lazy, they're criminals, they're violent, like all of those negative things and stereotypes that exist against Black people because of racism, because we were oppressed for so many years. Those views and beliefs all get adopted by other minorities when they come here, and they kind of use that as a way to increase themselves and make themselves more with whites in order to, I guess, progress more in this country. So it's actually a lot more common that other minorities are also racist towards Black people because of this. So this idea that Black people are, I'm like, I don't even know where it would come from, honestly. I mean, like I'm saying, there's studies that show other minorities come over here and are racist or oppressive or take the stance that white people have towards Black people, because it's more beneficial for them to side with them because white people hold most of the power in this country. So yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but don't bring us into it. We didn't do anything. Obviously, you can see we have our own issues that we're dealing with, which is why we even started a freaking movement about it. And I think the Asian community, their issues are just as important, and they are being brought to light, which is very, very good and important. But let's not make this a Black versus Asian thing, because that's not the right way to go. Stand up for yourself, stand up for your community, but you don't need to bring other people down or continue to hurt or spread false claims about a group in order to make your movement good. And I feel like obviously there's a lot of microaggressions that I see come out whenever something happens in another community. I don't understand it, but people are very, very quick, from my experience, to just jump on the anti-Black people train. And again, it's just like really tiring. Even when we're not involved, we get brought up. Even when we're not a part of the problem, we get brought up. And it's just aggravating. It's tired. I feel like and I'm not going to act like there are very, very few instances that I can think of. Like, I watched this video where a Black person pushed like an older Asian American male to the ground, and it was disgusting. It was horrific. And of course, I'm not going to stand here and act like that behavior is okay. But that one instance does not represent the entire Black community and should not be used to justify continuing your racism against Black people. And I think a lot of times, because there's already that negative concept we have about Black people being violent and more, and there's also that effect of you're going to use those when you already have a specific belief about a group. You're going to use things that match your beliefs in order to, validify your beliefs about them. So if you already believe Black people are violent, you're only going to pay attention to the times that you've seen Black people violent in order to justify, your beliefs, your racism, whatever it is. And so, and doing so is not good, because one, you're ignoring a lot more instances you've had with Black people that weren't violent, that weren't that in order to justify a racist belief. And I feel like that's something I see really often is people are very, very quick to use any wrong thing a individual Black person does to say Black people are this or that are all horrible, and it's really just not fair. It wouldn't be fair for me to take an example of another minority or race's negative actions or feeling towards Black people and say that represents their entire group of people, because that's just not true. And obviously there's a history of racism and oppression in America towards Blacks, towards Hispanics, towards Asians, towards Middle Eastern people. But all of that is the main culprit is white people. I'm sorry. Like, I hate to say it, and obviously not every single white person is racist, so this is not an attack against white people, but Trump is the person who put the ban on Middle Easterns, on Chinese people, on Asian community. He's the one who called coronavirus the China virus. He's the one who made all this, and he is a white man. So how then are we still blaming Black people for Asian American hate? I just don't understand it. And again, this is not meant to come off as a bash. It's just like, why? I just really can't understand why Black people always get brought up when another minority or group is experiencing some sort of racism from white people. Why are we now continuing to try to blame Black people? And then we Black people started our movement because that's what we used to doing. We started a movement for when we were slaves in the Underground Railroad. We started a movement for segregation in the Civil Rights Movement. We've always had that. I don't want to say it's like built into us, but we've had to. And it's sad to say, but Black people in this country are unified because of the shared experience of being oppressed and experiencing racism. Like, literally, that's the only thing I would say African Americans have in common. We're not all grouped together and strong. And it's another thing we studied. It's like there's this somewhat unity between Black people because of that shared experience of oppression. Oppression, unfortunately, is a very unifying thing for people or groups of people. So that shared experience is what makes the Black community seem like they're very, very strong. But realistically, like, I can have nothing in common with another Black person, but because we know the quote-unquote struggle and the experience as a Black person, we have that kind of, I don't want to say like brother and sisterhood, but that's kind of the idea behind why Black people are so mobile or vocal about our issues. And we've had to be, because if we weren't, nothing would have ever gotten done. We would have progressed to where we are now. So for some reason, I guess when other communities who are experiencing that see that we're doing this and we're so vocal about our issues, I don't understand why we get blamed for other people's experiences. And the truth is, I don't know how to say this without in the best way, but a lot of Black people are kind of like the most watched group of people. Like, I hate to say it just like that, but it's true. We're always being watched. We're always being looked at. We're always being scrutinized. People always are so focused and obsessed with us in a sense. Like, Black culture is seen as cool and, popular, and Black people set a lot of the trends that are happening. And so we're simultaneously the most watched person, but also at the same time the most oppressed. I shouldn't say the most oppressed, but the most scrutinized group. And maybe that's not something I can really say. That might be a biased thing, because if you think about it, Middle Eastern people in this country are also heavily scrutinized by, people. And I don't know what that experience is like. But again, there's also a very widely known racism that other minorities have towards Black people when they come to America, because it puts them with the side of whites who have more power in this country, and it makes them, I guess, feel better. So again, this whole video is to say, like, can we not make Black people the scapegoats of everyone else's problems? Black people have never blamed other people other than, well, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but blame the person who's causing the issue. And also, blaming someone is also not always the best route. Just blaming someone doesn't get the problem fixed. Bringing awareness is important, but what you'll find is racism is really a internal problem, is what I've come to realize. Like, someone who is racist wants to be racist to a certain extent, because the motive for racism is wanting to feel better than about yourself. Is it gives you power, it makes you feel like you are more than other people. And so, white people have had to put Black people down for years in order to feel better about themselves. Other minorities come here and do the same so that they can feel better about themselves, so they can say, at least I'm not Black, at least I'm not this type of person, so you can give yourself a social increase by putting down Black people. And it's also probably not helped by colorism. I think colorism definitely fuels that. And colorism, again, is just an extension of racism. You see in other races, the darker your skin, the worse you're treated. And it's the same everywhere. So I don't know how you solve the real racism problem. If someone is racist, they're going to be racist because they need to put other people down to feel better about themselves. How do you stop someone from doing that? I mean, it sucks to say it, but people have to want to change in order to actually change. Individuals can't be controlled, which is why the reason Black people were able to do what they could to somewhat fix issues, because obviously even after civil rights, we still experience racism. But you can't change something that is internal. Black people had to change laws that were written that were racist, and even still, after changing the laws, they still experience racism, but it's documented. So legally, if there's laws written that are racist, starting a movement is a way to get those changed. But when it comes to the internal and the hearts of people who are filled with so much hatred, I honestly don't know how. I mean, you can make a movement saying that's not right, and people will still believe what they want to believe. And I don't mean this to be like pessimistic, but as someone who used to go on plenty of Facebook rants, get in arguments with people about this stuff because I wanted to do what I could to, help someone change. And I realized people can't change unless they want to change, and they have to be aware that their actions are wrong. And they also have to want to change their wrong actions or beliefs in order to get better. So, how do you change someone's heart is the real question. And that's something, I don't know. The only person I know who can change your heart is Jesus. Honestly, prayer, the best weapon you have for people is kindness, love, and prayer. Martin Luther King was a very wise man, and when he said, hate cannot drive out hate, 100% right. Hating someone because they hate you isn't going to solve a problem. And as much as it might not make sense to show love towards the people who hate you the most, that is probably the most powerful thing you can do when you're faced with hatred. And that's literally Black people's experience in this country. And when you really study our history and how much hatred we receive for no reason, and there's those who wanted to take the high road, those who took the low road, but there's people who just want there to be a race war. I guess I don't know why people want a race war, but again, the best thing you can do, maybe not the best, but the most powerful thing you can do, love those who hate you, kill people with kindness, and keep your head up high. Like, that's honestly the best advice I can give you. Being hateful towards back to people won't get you anywhere. It's just going to further people's hatred towards you, further your hatred towards them, and not really solve any problems. But if you just continue to show kindness and love, that's literally the only way you're ever going to get to someone's heart. Because if you think about it this way, if I am someone who hates you so much because of my own ugly beliefs about you, but I continue, or you continue to just be super kind and loving towards me, and that really causes some cognitive dissonance, It makes me question why I hate someone who's done nothing but been kind to me. And that's how you really change people. Not by hatred, because I feel like sometimes when people are being hateful towards others, they want to receive hate back. They want it to be a fight. And when you don't give in to that, when you take the high road, when you are still kind, I mean, obviously they're just going to continue to look bad, but you also, again, have to make people question why they believe what they want. So I don't know why this turned into me preaching. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this. Like, just love other people regardless. Don't be so focused on the hate that you receive. It sucks. It's horrible how the lengths people will go to, how horrible and evil people can be towards one another. But that shouldn't stop you from loving other people or being kind to other people, even if you think yourself they don't deserve it. Because you never know. You really never know. All right. Bye.